if you could talk about the EFM program and how that benefits a sailor when it comes to detailing, and how should they go about getting orders? Like, is it the same as everybody else?
Yes. So now the process with the recent change of categories going away, sailors get to be able to apply just like anybody else. So before, with categories, the policy actually outlines, depending on what category they were in, let's say a category 4 sailor. The policy specifically outlined these are the only locations those category 4 sailors can go to. Whereas now, even if you are previous category 4 sailor, because categories went away, you can still apply to any billet that's on the board. If you're doing so, the detailer would then contact the EFM coordinator to see if there's care available for that sailor. They're not going to tell us what type of care or what's wrong with the sailor, because that is HIPAA. But we do take that due diligence before we actually select the sailor to see if there's care available. And if not, we'll contact the sailor to try to let them know that, hey, the billet you apply to, there's no care available for you in that area. Which other billet do you want? You know what I'm saying? That's a conversation that we have, because, we could also not do that aspect, but then it's just going to create extra legwork in the long run, because if we select a sailor that there's no care available for them, as soon as we write their orders, once it gets to the EFM desk for CHOP, they're just going to kick it back and say there's no care available. So we generally try to call ahead and just kind of, have that extra step to where if we can offer a sailor a different billet that they want, we will do so. But the process is really no different than any sailor that's not an EFM, except at times they could be limited on where they can go based on the type of care that's needed for them.
Is it safe to say that if someone picks a location and they have an exceptional family member and they know that there is care in that area, are they almost guaranteed to get that billet?
Most of the time, I would say it's community dependent. And it also depends on what look stage they're in. But most of the time, yes. Most of the time, yes. If there are other options available, like for instance, for my community, because my community is so small on the AMEs and PR side, AT is a little bit bigger, but TAR in general, the community is so small. Majority of the time, the EFM sailor is going to be the priority, because there are already so limited billets available for us in general. But in a community where there are much more billets available, then it could be different, and the guarantee aspect is a lot less than a smaller community. So I would say it's more community dependent on that.
Hey, with that though, did it benefit? I think it helped. Did it help detailing when the categories went away?
Because it did in some aspects, because and some sailors would call, especially if they're EFM, they were like, they'll see an opportunity or a specific location that they really want to go to. But because they're a specific EFM category, it's like, hey, it limited us to send them to those locations because of the EFM. But because there is more care available now and the actual categories don't limit us to specific locations anymore, in some aspects, it helps the sailors, but in other aspects, it pisses sailors off, because a lot of sailors that were in those higher categories generally were in those highly desired locations. So when they get to those negotiation windows, they're, upset because they can't spend their entire career in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah. But hey, Sean, I look at it differently, right? I look at it as now you know where you can go and can't go. So when you go to negotiate with the detailer or whoever you put you in and go to My Navy assignment, you already know, what your needs are and where you can go already. So you shouldn't be picking a billet that you know you can't get because you don't have.
Shouldn't be.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. Shouldn't be. Yeah, I'm tracking. Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword. I haven't had too many issues regarding EFM sellers picking orders or trying to go places that they can't go and trying to work the system in that aspect. So like I said, I'm pretty sure there are some out there that are like, oh my God, I don't want to do this, or I do want to do this and I can't. But it depends on the community and depends on the person.